Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another track of the Ali G Show. Today I'm hanging out with Tom Garvey, and if you are into running, triathlons, pretty much anything that involves voluntarily making yourself suffer for fun, you are going to want to stick around for this one. Tom is a pro triathlete, marathoner, ultramarathoner, duathlon champion, and most recently the second place finisher at this year's $1 ultramarathon here in New York City. And I really wanted to have Tom on because his background is such a cool mix of endurance sports. And we're getting into how he went from getting into running and triathlons to competing at a professional level, what he loves about each discipline, and what keeps him coming back for more. We are also talking about that $1 ultra marathon, what his strategy looked like, what was going through his head during the race, and what it's like to battle it out for the almost win. Grab your shoes, lace up, and let's get into it. All right, Tom, before we get into the races, all of the things, the ridiculous mileage I'm sure that you put in comparison to many others,
You'd be surprised. That'll be a
uh,
fun topic.
I know. I can't wait to hear about it, but I am so happy you're here. Thank you for coming on the Ali G Show.
Thank you for having me.
As we joked about earlier, of course, anytime. As we joked about earlier, we are here to talk about cats, kids, ultra running, all the things, and the Dollar Ultra. A third perspective on the Dollar Ultra that I personally cannot wait to hear.
I hope I'm a third as interesting as the first two. Yeah, they were good ones.
You're gonna be. I'm so confident in you. It's gonna be great.
I love the confidence.
I have to bring it, but one of us has to bring it. We bring it for each other.
Keep
You
it
have
coming.
confidence
All
in
right,
me.
deal.
I got confidence in you. But for those that don't know you, and for me also, because I feel like we go back and forth on Instagram, but I don't know how you got into this crazy world of running. So for those that don't know, who is Tom Garvey?
You would think
Okay,
after
sweet.
I've listened to a bunch of your episodes, I would have like a prepared answer for this.
No, you're good.
But every time I thought about it, I just couldn't come up with anything good. So I just figured I'd wing it. How I got into it is I have to mention, or she would leave in a comment. I was trying to impress a girl. So I played ice hockey most of my life through my 20s, into my late 20s. And as soon as I stopped growing upwards, I realized like maybe this isn't the ultimate sport for me and I should look elsewhere. Didn't find anything immediately, but I was like, I still wanted to scratch that competitive itch. And I met this girl that was pretty cool who did triathlons and ran races. So I decided to jump in a race and try to impress her. And she beat the crap out of me in this 5-mile race. And I did not impress her then. And I have not impressed her since. But we are married now and we have a kid and a dog and a cat and a fish. So something worked, just the racing wasn't there right away. But that was in like my late 20s, and I started running for that sole reason. Before then, running was just something I did for hockey every now and then. I like ran a couple 5Ks and bonked in every one of them and did a terrible job. I was always good in the third period of a hockey game, so there was something endurance in there, but very different muscles, fast twitch versus slow twitch. And yeah, that's how it got started. She was already doing triathlons too, so she also beat me in the first triathlon I did against her. So
Wow.
that was a fun trend for a long time. And
Hey, that's a fun outcome.
She's actually beaten me since because I've had some. I go to the limit on many races and past the limit in many races. And she races smarter than me. So every time I hit that wall, she's there chasing me down. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And yeah, she created this obsessed endurance person that I've become. I started with the short stuff, and like all runners and triathletes, did a sprint, did a 5K, and I was like, probably 10K, half marathon, 100-mile, Ironman. Yeah, and now I've done a bunch of Ironmans, a bunch of marathons, a few ultras. This is the first ultra I've done in a very long time. The Dollar Ultra you referenced, but
Of course.
yeah, it's I don't want to ramble too long about this particular point, but I did
No,
mean to
you're
get into
good.
ultras way sooner in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of long bike rides training for Ironmans. And like I'm sitting on the trainer for 5 hours, usually indoors because New York City, and I don't trust cars. And
Yeah.
I always find myself watching like Barkley marathons or Badwater documentaries, and that's just what my mind goes to. And I had this grand plan of I was going to like step away from triathlon a few years ago. I had a good run. And then I got my pro card, and I couldn't say no to that at I don't know, I was 38 or 39 years old at the time. So pretty late start to that, but I wanted to test the waters for a few years. And I wouldn't say I had a great run as a pro. It was fine, but I would say it was illness and injury ridden. But now that I retired, I think like last December on a good note, and I found this $1 ultra thing to suck me back into the ultra world, and I just thought I'd have some fun with it. So yeah, that was
Love
the
it.
windy path to get here.
I love it. That's so cool. Well, I'm going to backtrack because I have so many questions.
All right.
First of all,
Yeah, it was a
well,
lot.
actually, before we even get into all of it, what do you have a favorite discipline? Is it biking, running, swimming? What's your
When I'm
go-to?
in oh, it's the one thing it's not is swimming. That is like all
Felt. It's
triathletes,
exactly
it's
why I
my
won't do a triathlon.
least favorite. I mean, if you hate swimming and you're not great at it, well, you're basically a triathlete already. That's most of
Yeah.
us. Um, but yeah, I swim enough to get by. I was always back of the pack in the pro fields. I'm like towards the front of the pack for amateur fields, but still not off the front at all. That's when the biking comes in. When I'm
Mhm.
in my best shape, I like my favorites probably running just because it's so much easier, but I'm usually best at the cycling side of things when I'm in peak fitness, which isn't going to
Love
be
it.
for another month or so, hopefully for the next Ironman.
Taking a little break. A little
Ah,
break before the next one, or are you just kind of maintaining?
I'm just started the next build. I've been waiting for like my resting
Nice.
heart rate to come down from the ultra, and it
Mhm.
started like last week. So the next build begins for Ironman California in October. So I've got plenty of time.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Okay. I have so many questions. Second, outside of your favorite discipline, how do you go about getting your pro card? Like, is that like a legit process? I've never heard anybody talk about
Yes.
it.
So I mean I had gotten really close to getting it a few times. It's a point system really. So
Mm.
in Ironman or any race, you if you score at the time it was like 106 point something points in a race, which means the top end of the field was strong. You were really fast against the top end of the field, and you scored enough that would say that if you were in the pro field, you'd be somewhere in the middle of the pack. So it's
Mhm.
that's the very simplified version of the point system. But over the course of I did Ironman St. George, Ironman Maryland, and then I raced in Kona in the World Championships
Wow.
there, and I would like over the course of three, I would not say my best races I've ever had, but I did squeak out enough points to qualify for my pro card, much to my surprise. And I couldn't say after having good races and not getting it for like a few years in a row and giving up on that dream, and then having a baby right before Kona. We actually brought our son as an
Wow.
infant to Kona, which is the perfect time to try to go pro in a sport where it's like dominated by 20 something year olds, as a 39-year-old who just had an infant. So yeah, I took the card and I decided to go for it. Things went awry from there a little here and there. But yeah, it was a fun 3 years towing the line with like Olympians and world champions who
So
typically
cool.
beat the crud out of me. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time, but it delayed my ultra career, which still hasn't started. I'm still trying to get fast in a couple more triathlons, and maybe next year is the ultra year for me.
Love it. What's the fast goal in the triathlon for you to finally be like, I want to compete in ultras?
So I had a good day in Arizona, which was like my last pro race. A good day for
Mhm.
an age grouper, not a great day for a pro. Even though my shoulder popped out during the swim, so it really
What?
cost me. Yeah, like I mentioned, some illness and injury during my pro time. One of them was a really bad bike crash. I was going like 35 miles per hour down a hill, and
Oh my
some
God.
some bad things happened, and I was tumbling over the bars. So I separated my AC joint, grade three. I broke my femur. I tore a hip labrum, broke a couple ribs, tore some back
Wow.
muscles. So yeah, that was a good time, and everything was pretty healed, I thought by then. But I just made a weird motion swimming in the first like 10 minutes, and it just like kind of popped in a way that it hadn't since the injury. So that was fun. So I spent like my slowest Ironman swim ever, just the entire time panic swimming. If you've ever had
Oh
like
my
a
God.
panic attack in the water, like imagine it for like a full hour. That was me, but I made it,
That
and I
would
was
kill
worried.
me.
Yeah, and I was worried I wasn't gonna be able to bike because it was like a shoulder, and you have to be in aero position.
Yeah.
But I could, and I made it, and I had a decent bike, decent run, and I had like a 8:43 in Arizona. I wanted an 8:30. Uh, but now I'm going to California, and it's a downriver swim, so it's just perfect for me. I think I can maybe go a decent bit faster than 8:30, which is a good age grouper time, and like back of the middle of the pack if I was still a pro. So
Yeah.
that's my goal, and I think I'm probably moving on from the really hard Ironman training either way after
Hmm.
this. Well, this is going to sound weird, but I want to ease off into the simpler life of ultra training. Um, the hours that go into Ironman training are just silly, and the waking up time and like the weekends that it eats up. It would just the hours dedicated would be so much lower if
Yeah.
I went to ultra running. That I think that's one of the main draws for me. I want to
I
spend.
love to hear it.
Yeah, I love running. It's my favorite one, and yeah, that's the real draw. But it's
It's
it's a
crazy.
little more family time.
Every time you say something, I have more questions.
Yeah. All right, bring them.
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, just amazing how you overcame injury like in the actual race and kept going, and then just all of the things.
Barely.
That's barely, but you still made it, and your approach to it seems very positive, even though I'm sure in the moment you felt very negative. um, but
I was feeling it was the classic like maybe I can just make it to that buoy up there and just see if I don't have to
yeah,
drop out yet. And then
yeah.
eventually it was done.
It's like make it to the next light post, or
Exactly.
whatever
Exactly.
your marker is. We all do it, but I mean to do it when you're injured like that that's something else. I don't know if I could do that. But um what you had said, the training for Ironman is like a lot of time, of course, and it's a lot of effort. First of all, how do you maintain that when you have a wife and a son and cats? And you have like a
And a
life
dog.
outside of this, and a dog? You have a life outside of this. How do you maintain that? But also, what is the actual training like? I truly know, and I'm embarrassed to even say this on my own podcast, like I don't know anything about what it entails other than like the disciplines involved.
Swim, bike, and run. Yeah. So I even though I did well, still do well in age group
Mhm.
fields. I actually a week before the $1 Ultra was like the key race of the early season, which was Escape the Cape, and I had won that, and that
Wow.
was my focus like for the whole first half of the year, and then I spent like a whole 4 days training for the $1 Ultra, which was fun. But yeah, it's my wife is also does Ironmans, so it's good to have that understanding that if you have to eat up a lot of time, it's useful to have that support. Two,
Hmm.
I have a very supportive mother-in-law who loves her grandson so much and comes every weekend up to New York City for the most part, or we're down there. And he loves her just as much. So they spend a lot of time together on the weekends. So if
Love it.
I can just wake up early, I can be biking early enough and get it done like early morning, even if it's a super long workout. Like sometimes
Hmm.
I'll stretch it to like 6 hours. I can be done pretty early
Wow.
and then just get on with the rest of the day. The one thing you can't do is what a lot of people who are early in their Ironman journeys, like a long workout can just wipe them out for the day, which it used
Hmm.
to for me too. But now it's once you're done the 6 hour workout, it's the real workout starts of entertaining a toddler for the entire day. So it's workout done,
Yeah.
take a shower, and treat the rest of the day like it never happened, which is kind of the
Wow.
norm for a lot of people balancing Ironman and all this stuff. And
Hmm.
luckily, my job is pretty flexible. If I get the work done and I get the hours in and everything is up to snuff, then everybody's pretty happy with me. So I can wake up, do some work in the early morning, and sort of wake my body up. And if I have a gap in the morning from like 9 to 11, I could actually work out through that. If I worked
Hmm.
a little bit before that, then my pool is actually right back there at Chelsea Piers. So if I have like 45 minutes for lunch or even a half hour, I can just sneak over and do a little bit of swimming. And I
Hmm.
do the bare minimum of swimming most of the time. And then the
Yeah.
running, like I said earlier, that's the easy part. I can get 20 miles in a couple hours, in and
Hmm.
out. So the running is the part that I squeeze in the easiest. And I don't do a lot of high mileage running for the most part. I did a build up for a
Interesting.
marathon earlier this year. So I did like a couple weeks that approach what the other people in the $1 Ultra probably do like every week.
Hmm.
But I usually keep my mileage like super low because I build the endurance on the bike, and all of my running is basically targeted and pretty fast.
Hmm.
If you look at just my running, it's very not 80-20. Not a lot of zone 2 work, if any. And I kind of like it that way. I like
Yeah.
it, it keeps me entertained, at least when I'm running.
Yeah, and if it works for you, it works for you. Here I am thinking that like running for 3 hours is a lot, and then you're like, I bike for 6 hours. how
Well,
many
when
how
it's
many
6
miles do you
hours,
get
it's a
in
bike
that
and a
much
run.
time? Okay,
If
fair, fair.
Yeah, I could probably get 100 miles in on a trainer or outside if there's no lights, no anything. I'm usually
Hmm.
going like a little over 4 hours is what I would get
Okay,
in. So if I'm doing like a long workout, I'll do like 120 miles in 4 hours, 40 minutes or so, something like that. Maybe a little
love it.
less if it's a really hard day, and then I'll do like a 10-mile run. That's like a peak week workout. I used to do that more often, but I just try to think that with like 15 years of this uh, of experience, that I don't have to do it as often. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
far,
but again, works for
so
you.
far I've improved. We'll see. I hope it works for me, but
Fingers crossed.
so far
No,
so
I'm
good.
just
Yeah,
kidding. It'll work
early
for you.
season success with short races. Let's see how
I
it works
love
at an
it.
Ironman.
That is so much training, but it really is. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's so inspiring because like sometimes I'll have these moments where you don't want to go out for a run, or I'm sure you probably have it on the bike where you're like, I
All the
don't really
time.
want to go out and bike that long.
It's usually
And
the
it's just
swim.
like, man, I've done so much more. Yeah. See, exactly. I would never do the swim. That's the problem. I would show up and wing the swim, even though that's the worst thing I could possibly do and the worst advice I could give. But
Well,
that
every
would
now
be
and then,
me.
we have a house in Peekskill, like Hudson Valley. Every now and then
Hmm.
we get to go there and swim in a lake. If I lived by a lake, I'd swim every day. It's the pool that kills me, just like
Yeah.
staring at a line and flip
Hmm.
turn, flip turn, flip turn. It's very,
Yeah.
yeah, not very scenic.
It's like
Open water swimming is
monotonous.
nice though. Yeah, it is.
Do you have a favorite, other than swimming in a lake? Do you have a favorite place to bike or run? Of course, around the city, but are there places specifically that you really gravitate toward?
I mean, I do almost all of my biking indoors. I just don't
Wow.
trust cars enough
Hmm.
or people enough driving the cars mostly to do anything
Felt.
outside in New York, because I would have to like get out to the river, go out like to the George Washington Bridge, and then go up to like Bear Mountain,
Hmm.
which it's a popular New York City bike excursion, but I just have to be so efficient with time that all that time getting it, like the 10, 15 miles it would take to get to the bike path where I could go hard, it's just sort of wasted time. If I'm an
Hmm.
indoor trainer, I can get on there, go exactly as hard as I want the entire time, never have to stop, never have to slow down. So
Yeah.
I do almost all my training indoors.
Wow.
And to the people that say like, yeah, but what about your bike handling and all that? I've always been fine. I do enough races outside where I get my bike handling in. That's
Right.
why I do early season shorter races. But
Hmm.
yeah, so my favorite place to bike is Watopia on Zwift, the indoor biking app. Um, yeah, so that's an easy one. And running, I would have, I still, the East River, like the parks that are now
Hmm.
completely shut down for construction. They were my favorite
Yeah.
running path, but now you can't get like a mile and a half in the same direction. So once I get
Hmm.
out all the way around to the west side, basically where the $1 Ultra turned around, like my office right here is 8 or 10 miles, depending if I run the piers or not, from my apartment. So the long runs, once I get out to like 5 miles, it's real nice running along the west side. You have the river on one
Yeah.
side and there's a park on the other. That would be my favorite running spot. Or in Peekskill when I want to get hills. I just anywhere up there in the Hudson Valley is tons of hills.
Yeah.
Or I would say the Williamsburg
Hills.
Bridge, and oddly enough, I've done some long runs where I just go back and forth on the
Hmm.
Williamsburg Bridge because it's the only way to get hill training in. So I'll just
Hmm.
run like 2 miles to the bridge and then just run back and forth till I'm up to like 15. Then I run home. I guess I'm good with
Wow.
monotony.
I know. I was gonna
I'm
say
fine with
it
that, but I hate swimming in a pool. Don't know why.
works for the runs, but not for the pool. I think
I
it's just the
don't do a lot of
discipline.
self
I don't
analysis,
know.
so I'm not going to look deeper into that, or I'd find something troublesome. So I'm just going to let it be.
I love that. That's so awesome. Well, that's all super, super cool. So, fast forward to now. Actually, let's compare like back to when you started all this, and then we'll get into the ultras, of course. Back when you
Sure.
started all this, how do you think your relationship with biking, obviously, we know the swimming part, but biking and running has changed from when you first started to now? Like, is there anything that surprised you about the pro field? Anything that surprised you about yourself in
I
this
wish I
journey?
could. I wish I could say stuff surprised me about the pro field, but as soon as I like that was already a decade into my
Yeah. Yeah.
triathlon journey, so I knew what I was stepping into. What surprised me, I'll start with that last question, then I'll go back. I did think I was going to be much more competitive in the pro field, I would say. So I jumped in and had my eyes on like breaking 8 in an Ironman, going really fast. And my coach and I thought we were in a good place to do it. But the very first year, my first race as a pro, I just started swimming, and like I had a full body cramp in this first really hard part of the swim, and it never went away the whole race. And it was one of my worst races, like even counting my age group days. And I finished the race, and my time was like, it would have been fine as an age grouper. As a pro, I was near the end of the field. I turned out I had like severe iron deficient anemia, which is not something you want to discover after your first race. Kind of came out of nowhere, but I learned a lot about it and how common it is amongst endurance athletes. More often for women, because iron troubles are very common amongst female endurance athletes. But
100%.
so I've been taking iron supplements since, and I thought that might have been the end of my racing career, because a lot of people never really recover completely and they struggle with it forever. And I got it, like my ferritin was down to like 2, which is quite low. The doctor questioned why I had walked to the hospital to get my blood test. Like, you should just be laying down all day. So yeah, I discovered a lot of stuff then. So that pulled the plug on my first season. Then the second season, I was like, all right, ready to do this again. I came back and like had a decent PR in a half marathon. So my running legs were back, my biking legs, like my FTP was reaching new heights. And then like the first race back was that bike crash, which,
oh my God.
so that pulled the plug in the second season. And I was actually in line for a hip replacement because of the bike crash.
Wow.
I had 4 orthopedic surgeons telling me I needed a new hip and that my endurance days were probably behind me, which I just kept going to a different doctor until one said, like, maybe you'll be fine. I was like, you're my guy. And I was. I didn't get the surgery. I ended up healing pretty well. It feels as good as ever nowadays. My shoulder's fine too, even though it has that AC joint hump for the rest of my life. When people break their shoulder, that tends to stick around.
Wow.
But everything's healed now. But that was like 2 seasons gone. And then my third season I went back was a long climb back to a couple good seasons, or a couple good races to end that. I took till the next fall after that crash, which was 2 springs prior, to get back into the pro field. And I went out okay, being all things considered, with the shoulder injury. So that's what surprised me about the pro field. Mostly myself. They were exactly as fast as I thought they were going to be. I just thought I'd be closer to them earlier than 3 years into it. And I still hope I'm closer to them, like in my retirement, back as an age grouper. So still think I can get faster. Not giving up yet, even though I'm only getting older. I guess surprised me about myself. I mean, I knew I have a pretty addictive personality. Like when I played hockey, ended up trying to find every opportunity I could. I played 9 days a week sometimes. Before family and when I was trying to take it seriously. So it's not a huge shock to me that I got really, really into it. And it's also not that surprising that after my first sprint triathlon, I found myself watching the Ironman World Championship documentaries, those classic NBC ones with the great intros that make it sound extremely dramatic. And it was as dramatic.
The best part about it.
It is. The intros were so good. And being there, I was hearing when I raced it, I heard the intro in my head as I was sitting there waiting for the race to start. It's hard to, it feels that dramatic until you get 5 hours into a race, and it feels less so. Then it's just, melting. But I guess it surprised me that I never got bored of it. A lot of people start these things, they set goals, and when they achieve them, they have that like, what am I going to do next goal? I was always okay with the goal of just get faster. And another thing that surprised me, when I first started watching these documentaries, I saw all the people with the dramatic finishes of marathons and Ironmans, and it was like an emotional moment. It changed them as a person. And they came out the other side feeling like they accomplished something that they're going to remember the rest of their life. I'm still chasing that one. I've never, like at the end of a race, I've almost always just thought I probably could have gone faster or farther or whatever. So I'm still waiting for that life-changing finish line, despite some pretty good results. But I think that's what keeps me wanting to get faster. If I was ever satisfied and had that emotional finish line where I thought like this was the peak of what I could do, and I've gone as far as I could go or as fast as I could go.
Mm-hmm.
I guess looking back, I'm glad I haven't felt that yet. Maybe when I'm like, I'll
I
aim to get that when I'm
know.
like 95 or something, and then I'll be like,
That's
all
what
right,
I
this
always
is it.
say.
I made it. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
satisfied.
I know. I always say that because it's like when I first started running, I competitively, like with myself, not competitively in a pro sense, but when I started running competitively a few years ago, I like had placed in a few New York Roadrunners races, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm kind of good at this. Like, whatever, let's see how this works. And I wasn't
That's how it
necessarily
starts. That's how it
always. I
starts. Yeah.
know, I know, and I wasn't necessarily like chasing PRs every race, but it just happened. Like, I don't know if I was like, well, I think I was in some of the best shape of my life because I was biking and running and doing all this cross training.
Oh,
And there's
just
something to be said
swim.
about a
Just
lot of
swim and
that.
do a try.
I
We'll
know.
talk about it later
Imagine.
after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast. I'll
We'll
get you.
talk about
Yeah,
it off the record, so I don't get myself into trouble because you know what happens on the pod is I'll
I'll
sign
get you
up
to
for it on
commit.
the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just kept I kept getting PRs and whatever, and then I was like, I'm gonna BQ, and then I BQ'd, and then I was like, I don't want to always have these goals because then it's like I don't want it to not be fun anymore. And similar to you, I'm kind of just like, okay, well, when I have one of those life-changing finish lines, I better be like 100 years old because how else am I going to convince myself to keep going?
I don't think
And
it's ever
every
gonna
year I'm
happen.
just like, I know, I know, I
And
know.
everybody always
It's crazy.
like, I always see the posts, and a lot of people you've interviewed. I love the stories. I wish I had them, but they always have like the very dramatic and inspirational reasons why they do endurance sports. Like
Hmm.
they came from an addiction, they're running from something. They need it's like they're
I know.
it's I, I just like going fast and winning sometimes. Like I don't
Hmm.
have there's and again,
Yeah, but that's
I don't
okay.
I don't
That's what this
reflect
is
a lot.
about.
I try not to
Yeah,
like look internally that often because who knows? Maybe I wouldn't like it. So maybe I do have a
yeah.
dramatic reason I run, but I don't know what it is. And so far that's worked. So I just yeah, what's my reason? I like to go fast sometimes, which doesn't do
I
well in the
listen. I
ultra
get
world,
it.
but
I
it's
know.
fun. Yeah, I
That's
like
what kills me.
competing. I just like competing. So
Hmm.
that's my reason. It's
I like
and
that.
you know
A
it
great
does.
reason.
And I'm getting older, so that competing. But I'm going to consider myself old when I stop winning races that have like 20-year-olds in them. It could be next year. Last time I won Escape the Cape was before this year. It was like 2023, and I'd won it by like 5 minutes. This year I won it, and I won it by 11 seconds. And the person and the kid behind me he's in his mid-20s, and I've raced him a bunch of times, and every time I race him, he's a little bit closer to me. And now it's really close. So next year I might have to focus a little bit, but so far not yet. So far I can still consider myself like competitive with the young crowd.
I love it, and that'll be a great topic when we talk about the Dollar Ultra in a minute. But I do have a
But yeah,
question
all
because
those
I
young.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's just something like
I was a dinosaur
17-year-olds
there.
will like.
Yep.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I just
I
meant like
know, I
it's
know.
just like even me. I mean, I just turned 30, and at when I did the Boston, I think it was either the Boston half or the Boston 10K last year. I looked over and there was a 9-year-old about to like kick my ass. And I was like, yo, I don't want to be standing here. Like this is so embarrassing. Because I'm struggling and it's hot out. And I know this kid is going to legitimately just rip me to shreds during this race. But that's what keeps it fun and energetic.
When it
But
happens, just say it's like you had one bad day, and I'll keep
yeah,
saying that until
exactly.
there's like 10 of them in a row,
I
and
say
then
that
yeah,
every time
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I could have gone faster.
yeah,
I just was
definitely
hungry or tired or I didn't have enough caffeine.
both,
I just always
all
say,
three.
yeah, exactly. All three. Can't dig too deep because then you start overthinking. That's that's how I look
Nope,
at it.
keep it shallow.
Keep it shallow. That's exactly right. Oh my god, that's
This is
so good.
already
I'm gonna start
opposite of
saying
Vin.
that.
This is already very opposite of Vin's podcast. He has great reasons for everything, and he's very
I know.
motivated, and I love it.
Vin
I
just
like every one of his posts. I try to get some of his motivation to
I
my just
know.
like wake up and trudge through a workout.
I know. Listen, I soak in everybody's inspiration that they post online. I don't know that I can share inspirational things because it's just not my like I feel like it's I don't know. I'm going way off tangent here, but yes, Vin is very inspirational for real. And sometimes I'll look at his workout and I'm like, "Damn, I probably could have done better this morning.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Maybe I should have
just
pushed
get it over
harder."
with. Just wake up and get it over with. I mean, I
I
love the
know.
journey. I do like training. Um,
Yeah.
And I know everybody says like if you have to be intrinsically motivated, like I like races. And
I
I'm
know, me
I think
too.
I'm like 90% extrinsically motivated, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah,
works.
it's all okay.
I like races. I like hanging out. I like being on podiums.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I'll have to find that why one day when I'm backing up in the field as I get older. But so far, it's just I like races.
You know what? That's a great reason. I like races too, and sometimes I just love ripping a 5K, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
short stuff is super
Yeah,
fun.
I
I
know.
prefer like even though my specialty is Ironman, I'm best at the longer distances. I love sprint races. I have way more fun at, which
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about the exact opposite of that soon enough. But yeah, I love going fast.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you keep yourself entertained when you're training for these things? Like, do you listen to music? Do you
Oh yeah,
take
running.
classes, things like that?
Yeah, again, when I don't do any of the classes, and I don't like run in groups because I'm usually so super targeted that like running with a group
Hmm.
wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I listen to music when I run all the time. It's a performance enhancing novelty. It's proven it can
Agreed.
keep you distracted and it can keep you ignoring the pain inside your body. Again, I know all the people that sound very motivational, like run with yourself and listen to your body. I'm like, no,
I
I'm out there
can't.
to ignore everything my body says and run faster anyway, every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I hear my breath, it's over.
So we
It's
should have
over.
like there should be like an ad like fine print in this podcast. This is not advice. Do not do
Yeah.
what I say.
Yeah.
It's just, somebody would get
Disclaimer.
hurt following
Don't
this. But
listen
yeah,
to any of this.
yeah, I do no zone two running. I run hard every time. I'm like zone three to zone six only. And yeah, I listen to music to distract myself from how much pain I'm probably in if I was paying more attention. So that's
That's
how I do
exactly
that.
right.
But and when I'm biking, it's either documentaries about ultra running or sci-fi. It's where I watch all my sci-fi and keep up with that because I don't get to sit on couches very often. Uh,
Yep.
so yeah, all the classic ways that are probably called unhealthy by someone, but yeah, full on
Yeah. I
distraction
mean, I
mode
do the same.
as often as I can.
Sometimes I do long runs on the treadmill. I know that sounds crazy, but
I've done it,
I
super
feel
done
like
it.
if you can do that, you can do anything.
It's
True. And I'm
brain
sure
training.
yes, it is brain training. And that's so important in all of this. But I watch TV all the time when I do my long runs because what else am I
Yeah,
going to do on the treadmill?
yeah, I don't know, like the people that have their Zwift setups and treadmill setups and just have
I can't.
like the Zwift in front of them,
Stats.
which is just like the running. Like that's, I mean, I look at the stats to make sure I'm not like falling off the cliff of like endurance, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm there to watch whatever movie I want to watch mostly.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of music are you listening to? Like if you were really trying to rip a workout.
Let's see. Nowadays, I mean, everyone's stuck in high school musically. That's how it works.
Hmm.
So I
Yep.
usually start with just like a Blink 182 song or a Third Eye Blind song or something from that era
Hmm.
and just let it roll, whatever, and see what comes next.
It's a great era.
I let a mix start, yeah. Or lately, my son is super into Miley Cyrus, probably because I started him off on that. I'm pretty proud of myself. So every now and then, I'll just think, I'll start with what's a Can't Stop is a good one, and just see
Hmm.
what comes next. So it'll usually just go between Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga, like back and forth. And that's another great running selection there. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
so true.
I do mix up the running playlist as much as I can every now and then, just out of that's the one thing I do out of boredom. I
Yeah.
try to figure out and discover new music, but then I'll hear a song that I've never heard and I'll really like it in the beginning of a 15-mile run, and by the end of the run, it's gone forever anyway. So
I
that
know.
doesn't really
I
work
forget about it.
unless you have a really good memory. But I
I do
try.
the same thing. I do the
Like
exact
I
same
gotta
thing. I'm
remember that
like,
song that
wait.
was so good for a running playlist, and then I never
I'm
look
like, can't
again.
touch my phone because then I
Yep.
won't start again.
No,
So
no
I
slowing
can't
down.
save it. It just helped in the moment. You got to embrace it. I love that. That's so cool. I started off as a pop punk runner when I was in my angsty running phase,
That's still
and then
where
I
I am.
moved. Yeah, no, I'm still there too. It's sometimes it's like what it's one of those things that's like old reliable where I always resort back to it when I need to just like really be locked in.
Yeah, like Jimmy Eat
And
World, MXPX, Blink. Yeah, just throw it
exactly,
on there and
Blink,
let it roll.
Third Eye
Yep.
Blind, Avril
Oh yeah.
Lavigne, like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
in it.
That comes
Yeah,
in. That if you start with Third Eye Blind, Avril Lavigne's always close behind.
yeah,
At least on
yeah,
YouTube Music.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It's all the same angsty playlist. It keeps me going for sure. Um, but should we talk about the Dollar Ultra?
Might as well. It was
Yeah.
fun.
It's fun. Good day. No,
Yeah,
tell
good
me
days.
all about it. How did you, yeah, days. Oh my God. Biggest mistake I just made on the pod. Crazy days, plural. Take me back to the beginning. When did you sign up? Why did you sign up? Do you remember what you put in your Google form? Because I actually signed up and then I bailed on it because I was slightly injured. And I was like, I'm not really, like, if I'm going to do this, I want to go crazy.
I mean,
Not that I
what
would
did
come anywhere close to what you did, but.
I don't I mean, I didn't think I would either. I don't I signed up myself and my wife, which is probably what got us in. And
Mhm.
I said I think the main thing I said was I want to see how far I could take it. Wanted to I pretended like I was going to train specifically for this because at the time I thought I was going to. I mentioned I would never die in the chair. It was probably mostly sarcastic. I really should have looked it up. I don't do anything that's not sarcastic. But yeah, I basically said that, "What are you running away from?" Like one of the questions is like, "What are you running away from?"
Mhm.
Basically, I usually when somebody asks like, "What are you running away from?" I just like, I don't know, being bored, having other things to do, doing something more productive than running. But I said, uh, "Oh man, what did I say?" I
I said
mentioned that my
everything.
wife thought I was an idiot for doing it because she knows I'm so stubborn that if I did this, I would run myself into the ground. And she was right about that. And by the end of it, she was encouraging me and reminding me of who I was. And I
Oh,
and I mentioned that despite her insistence, she would do absolutely the same thing. Turns out she couldn't end up running, mostly because of the Knicks in the World Cup. Like
mhm.
nobody could travel into the city, so everybody we were going to have crew couldn't even make it into the city. My brothers, any friends of mine,
Yeah.
so we were pretty solo. So she had to stay back with the toddler, which she wasn't that upset because she was in the middle of triathlon training as well. And this
Mhm.
running really far on in the streets of New York is not great triathlon training, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So she's still pretty committed to trying to go fast. And New Jersey State's in like a couple weeks, so she's in better
Wow.
shape for that than I am right now. Or is it next week? Oh God, is it next week? Shit. Yeah, I'm
Shit, if
coming
it's
back a
next
little bit.
week.
It is. It is. Um, but yeah, so it ended up being just me racing after all that, and she crewed me. I'll get into the crewing part later, but yeah, basically that's my non-answer for what I put in the sheet. Don't really remember, but I was probably making fun of myself, and I guess they like that.
That's what I do. Self-deprecation is my favorite type of humor.
Yup.
It keeps me alive,
And it fits
in
me
this
so
world.
well
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my
that's right.
whole 4 days of dedicated training for the $1 Ultra. Again,
Yeah.
departing greatly from the people you've talked to already.
No, oh my God, please. You did amazing things, which I will let you talk about your total mileage and your laps and your experience. But what did you think about when you got in? Were you like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do this? Or you were like, I'm just gonna do the 4 days of training and see what happens?
Well, by the time I actually got in, my race calendar was coming in, like getting a little clearer,
Hmm.
and I knew Escape the Cape, which was it's only an Olympic, but it's a pretty tough Olympic. Like you run on the beach a lot, and it's a competitive race, and I like winning competitive races. So I had some hopes and dreams of running really hard in the like training specifically for this, and then having another month. But because when I signed up, I don't think the date was announced when the actual $1 also was going to be. It's just like, you want to do it?
Hmm.
It was yes or no, and then the date was the week after Escape the Cape. So I basically committed to just running it on vibes for the most part. I mean, not
Yeah.
really. My mileage is always, like I said, is always super low for a long for over the winter and like up until the marathon training. I probably averaged like 25 miles a week.
Hmm.
Part of it's just preventative care. Like my hip is fine, but I didn't want to test that. Um,
Hmm.
but I did run a pretty fast marathon. I did the Jim Thorpe marathon like fall or in spring. In April went well. It was like another PR for me, which I keep PRing. I
Amazing.
keep waiting until I get slower. Hasn't happened yet. Pretty happy. So I had like a couple. I think I had 170-mile week, which is crazy for me. Like I never
Yeah.
touch that kind of mileage, but everything felt fine, and it resulted in a good marathon. And I considered that my $1 ultra training because after that I was straight to the bike, and I did
Hmm.
like 250-mile bike weeks for a long time, and down to
Oh
like
wow.
20 miles running. So I was basically averaging 20 miles a week for all winter and into the $1 Ultra. But you get a lot of endurance from biking. That's what I kept telling
Mm-hmm.
myself. So I total hours training, I'm probably on the high end of people that do ultras. Total
Mm-hmm.
running, I'm a drop in the bucket compared to them. But I wanted to test if that would work out. And that plus stubbornness, it can get you pretty far. Not far enough, but it can get you pretty far.
True. True. I love it. So then you fast forward, it's like we're getting all these emails about like you don't know where it's going to be, you don't know any of the details. Is that something that you thrive on, or is that something that like scares you? I feel like
I
nothing scares you, but I just have to ask the question.
no, I kind of like that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
So when the more difficult the race, the better I tend to do. My best marathon for a long time, if you remember Boston 2018, that the monsoon year,
Was that
uh,
yeah, I was going to
there
say.
was. So for a long time, that was my best marathon, just because it was so ridiculous, and I just ran angry the whole time.
Hmm.
I think was it this okay, there is a philosophical thing about racing that I can something that is real advice rather than all of the terrible things I've said so far. When most people visualize how a race is going to go, they not most, but a lot of people do it wrong. They try to picture the perfect day, like this is how it's going to be. If like I have just like everything falls into place, and I have one of those days everybody dreams of, that's their visualization. They visualize having that perfect day, which is the exact wrong way to visualize a race day if you want to have a really good day. What you should be visualizing and internalizing is whatever you're about to do. A 1 mile race can hurt just as much as a marathon sometimes, but whatever you
Hmm.
have to do, you have to, at your core, believe this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. It's going to be miserable. And the last quarter of this race, you're going to be going blind because you're putting yourself through that much pain on purpose, but you're ready for it. That's visualizing a race correctly. Like game planning, if this goes wrong, what do I do? If
Hmm.
it's way harder than expected, what do I do? You have to imagine all the stuff that can go wrong and then have a plan for it. Because then when inevitably something does go wrong, that person who visualized the perfect day and said like everything's going to be great, that's when they mentally just break way easier, because
Hmm.
it's not going according to plan anymore and they don't know what to do next. But if you have a plan for everything to go wrong and you knew things were going to go wrong and you expected pain and suffering and you got pain and suffering, you're going to be fine. Then if you have that perfect day, everything better than the hardest race of your life is a gift. So
Hmm.
it's the pain and suffering doesn't change, but it changes your attitude towards it, which is the main thing
I
you can
like that.
control.
I like that. See, that's great. That's a great thing to clip and good
There you go.
advice
All right, nice.
that
That would
people
be
can listen to.
that'll be the only
Very
thing worth clipping
philosophical.
in this entire race, in this entire
No, that
interview.
is so not true. That is so not true. This is so awesome.
Every
I
race is going to be
can't.
the hardest race of my life. That's how I approach
Yeah.
every single one of them.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I had a guest on once who ran the Great World Race. Her name was Hillary Kupish, and she came on the pod and was like, "What are you nervous about for Boston?" Because I had the worst race the first year I did it. It was hot. I was not prepared for the heat. Whatever
It's
the whole
hard to
thing.
you can't prepare for the heat. It's in April and you're
I
training through the
know.
winter.
Oh my god,
It's
it's so
awful.
bad. It was so bad. I had it was my slowest marathon. But my first year Boston was an humble brag, I guess. I hate even saying this out loud because it sounds so conceited, but Boston the first year I ran it was the only time I didn't qualify for Boston. And
That's funny.
I was like, this is so stupid. I was so angry. So she came on the pod and it was like a few weeks before Boston the second year. And she's like, why are you so nervous? And I was like, because this happened and this happened and this happened. She's like, I want you to make basically a T chart of the things that you think are going to go wrong and how you can solve them. And I was like,
That's
dang,
it.
that's
That's
smart. See?
exactly
And
it.
you just said
Yep.
it, full circle moment.
Love
See,
it.
we're learning, we're teaching and shaping minds here. That's why we're here. So what oh my god, I want to ask a question, but I don't want to get ahead of myself with the dollar ultra. Um so you show up and you are at the bar. What was it called again? This is
Printer's
horrible. I
Alley.
should know. Printer's Alley. That's right. So you're at Printer's Alley, and did you prepare your fuel? Like, what was your strategy going in?
That I did
if you
have
had
ready.
one?
So
Okay.
like going
Tell
into
me
the
about it.
race, like everybody thinks a lot of people went into the race thinking there was a chance they could win, they could do well.
Mhm.
I I had an outside hope that maybe I could last a long time and outlast a bunch of people, maybe win. I was coming in pretty confident. I'd won that Jim Thorpe marathon, which is the first time I ever
Mhm.
won a marathon.
It's
I
incredible.
won Escape the Cape. I had a pretty good streak going. Um, so it just I knew there was a chance up until the morning when I walked in and I saw like Cocodona 250 bags. I saw somebody that I knew for a fact was running like 18-hour 100 milers. It was Anne Marie. I'd seen her
Mhm.
on Instagram prior. Vin said he didn't think anybody knew who he was, but I actually figured it out pretty quickly that I knew he was going to run a long
That he was
way.
gonna try to win.
Yeah, he was trying to be sneaky. But yeah, it's like up until the morning of, I was like, maybe it's just not going to be that competitive. That's how I thought I was going to win. I thought it was going to be like, because the year before, the winner was like 104 miles. And for no reason at all, I was like, I could do 104 miles. Like, yeah, I was running
Right.
20 miles a week. I don't know why I thought that. But completely unearned confidence. I thought, like, yeah, maybe it'll just be like 120 miles and I could probably pull that off. Um, but when I started seeing the fields and the people walking around with like the bags, like, oh, I did like their 200-mile race bags. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna have some fun here and see what happens.
Yeah.
And because my ultimate goal was just to not die in the chair, like I wrote in the Google
Yep.
sheet, and just
Mhm.
go until I physically couldn't go anymore, and never decide to quit. Like I just never wanted to make that decision that I was done. I wanted something external, well, internal in my muscles, external
Yeah.
from my brain, my conscious thought that told me I had to stop. And I won't spoil the ending, but yeah, I think I got there.
I think you did, knowing what I know from everybody, and hopefully you'll tell the story soon. But
Whatever I can remember.
yeah, I know when
Actually,
you said
I was
that, I
pretty
was like,
lucid.
you know
I was pretty
what?
lucid the whole time, believe it or not, which was nice.
That's I feel like that's winning.
I
In my
know.
book, that's winning.
I
Is
had done one 100-mile race before, literally a decade ago. And
Mhm.
again, completely unearned confidence. I went in thinking like, oh, I could probably run 100 miles. I was only training. It was in the beginning of my triathlon career, so I was barely doing Ironmans. I had done a couple, and I was not in shape to run 100 miles. And it didn't hit me that I was running 100 miles that day until I like
Mhm.
was in the starting block, and it just something came over me like, wait a second, 100 miles is pretty that's a long race. Oh no. And that's the first time that I was intimidated by the distance at all. So once again, my complete lack of introspection and actually thinking about the decisions I made played in my favor
Mhm.
because that was 10 seconds before the gun went off. And then once the gun went off, I just started running and didn't think about
Yeah.
it ever again until I hit the
Yeah.
wall at mile like 70. Still
Mhm.
finished, but man, that was painful. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I went into this race the same way, completely unearned confidence, thinking I'd be able to go really deep until I got there and saw my competition and realized like these are real racers here. What was I thinking?
I know, but you kept go I mean, you lasted so long. It's actually insane. How did you fuel and again, we'll get the suspense is building on the pod. How
So
did you fuel
that's a triathlon. Like so that's one. If there's one thing triathletes are good at, it's staying on the cutting edge of like the modern science of endurance racing. Like
Mhm.
mostly it comes from our obsession with like aerodynamics and bike stuff and bike tech. But the same happens with nutrition. It's made its way into the marathon world and the ultra world, like the high carb fueling. But
Mhm.
it was the biggest thing that changed my Ironman racing a few years ago, going from just eating as much as you could, thinking I was like taking 90 grams an hour, thinking that was a lot, which it is for a lot of people. In Arizona, I was taking 200 grams an hour of carbs on the
Yeah.
bike. So I'm pretty good with really high carb fueling. Obviously,
Mhm.
you don't. If I was running a straight 100 miler, I could take in a lot. Like in the Gym Thor Marathon, I was taking in 160 grams an hour just running,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
that took some training for my stomach as much as it did for my
Mhm.
legs to win that one. But I knew I could take in the same fuel, never get bored. So I had this gel card called Carbs Fuel, which is 50
Mhm.
grams per gel. So I would just take one of them every lap. I would take these Adra bars. It's a company started by a friend of mine, but it's really like easy to take down protein bars. So I was taking like a half a protein bar every lap. And I was just doing that like clockwork up until like 110 miles in. I started just craving other things that I could talk about at that point. But in the beginning, it was just super simple. I barely even took in solid food, which I know is like an ultra runner thing. Like they think
Mm-hmm.
they want solid foods to keep from like flavor boredom or palate boredom. Like I don't get flavor or palate boredom. I don't care about that at all. Like food is fuel. I will take the most
Mm-hmm.
efficient fuel that's easiest to process. And
Yep.
I just did that the whole time. Um, so I just relied on mostly on liquid
Love it.
carbs, liquid fuel, like gels, and that got me through at least the first 24 hours or so, and
Wow.
no real issues.
That's an insane statement, getting you through the first 24 hours.
Yeah. After
And
that,
from
things
my
started.
point of view.
I probably could have kept going with the liquid fuels, but I think I don't know. Like the one thing that saves me at the end of an Ironman is Coca-Cola. Like they have Coke on the
Me too.
course, and it's just the perfect mix of like sugar and caffeine. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a caffeine. Like I had like probably a pot of coffee this morning, and
Me
I
too.
drank like a Celsius like an hour ago because my brain was getting a little drained. I was like, I have to talk to somebody, and I can't be this tired. But I didn't take any caffeine for the first, I'd say, 18 hours or so, just to try to
Wow.
save it up. And it wasn't really even a conscious thought. But once I started with caffeine, it felt so good that I was just like
Yeah.
housing anything caffeinated, which was like Coca-Cola and caffeine pills, whatever I could find, like the electrolyte
Yeah.
caffeine tabs.
Mm-hmm. Felt the one ultra that I did so far, I had my coach was pacing me. It was a 12-hour, as many laps as I could do, and it was like
I
maybe
want to do one of those
approaching.
one day.
Oh, it was so the course, looking back, like I would do it again. I would do it so differently. I was so bored because it was just the same loop over and over again. But now I'm recognizing like kind of the beauty in that for me. Like I do well in that format where it's like, okay, I only have 3.75 miles to go see my crew, and then again and again and again. But my coaches
You're gonna
were
love a backyard
crewing.
ultra.
Yeah, I know. I can't. I need to do one. I have to do one. My coach was pacing me and it was approaching like 3 o'clock. And he's like, "What do you need?" And I was like, "I need a coffee." I'm like, "I just need a coffee. I don't care what kind of coffee it is, instant coffee, cold brew. I will literally take a coffee flavored gel. I will take anything right now that
They make them.
resembles." Yes, they
I've
do.
had them. They're great.
Yeah, they are so good. And it saves me, but I don't, I've never done like the holding off and then having the caffeine. I wonder if that would make a difference because I'm like a pot of coffee a day. It's actually kind of crazy. Like I could legitimately drink the whole pot.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's the
I
upper
know.
limit
And
of
then be tired.
it's healthy. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the race, my wife, who, I mean, I don't know if I got to inject my wife's pacing abilities at some point into this. But I said she didn't start the race with me, but she came after a buddy of mine, Aton, was there at the beginning. And again, I struggled having pacers. So for a lot of the race, I didn't have anybody, which looking back, man, I wish I was so jealous of all the people that had like a really organized crew and had done this before. You could tell who was experiencing these races and who wasn't. And I was clearly on the
Hmm.
very wasn't side. I was just sitting there by myself, just like trying to house everything I could. And everybody else had people like just relax and handed stuff to them. They were so much smarter than me going into it. But my wife, after Aton was there for the first like 20 miles, buddy of mine, he came back towards the end of the race too.
Hmm.
But my wife was there after, like she started at night, like the first night she came and ran like 20 miles with me or something, maybe like
Wow.
16, 20 miles. And this was like overnight with the crazy part that we could talk about, with all the riots and Knicks winning and all that fun
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Then she went home and hung out with a toddler all night because we have a
Oh my
baby,
God.
and grandma was there too. And then she woke up and I started like, because I was getting the text on my watch that because my family had a text chain going that were following me,
Hmm.
making fun of me, probably not realizing I was reading it all in the watch, like these sons of but
It's fuel. Fuel the fire.
when she woke up, she was like, I can't believe he's still running. Am I going to have to go there? Because when she left me at the night before at like 2 a.m. or whatever, I was not in a good place. I don't even know how far into the run we were, like 80 miles or 70 miles.
Wow.
I should track this, but I had been feeling pretty ragged for like, I got a real low point at like mile 40. I was like, well, this was a lot of drama for nothing. I'm going to drop out. I
Hmm.
was going to like fall apart at 40. But I just kept running. And she came back at around mile 60 and I was not feeling good. And the people that I knew were going to do well looked so good. like Vin and Anne Marie,
Mhm.
just machines, and I knew it. And they just looked like they just started running, and I was out there dying, maybe putting on a good face whenever I saw them, doing my best, but I couldn't tell if they could tell how much I was hurting. So my wife left completely thinking I was going to be home like 3 hours after her. I'm pretty sure she never said that, but I'm pretty confident that she thought that. And then she woke up and I see the text like, I can't believe he's still running. And then I saw the text like, there's only 5 of them left. And I think she texted at some point like, yeah, I think Anne Marie looked really good. She's probably going to win. I'm like, that's nice. She was
Yeah.
openly
Thank
rooting for
you.
Anne Marie, by the way,
Yeah.
as were a lot of us. She was awesome. But once it got down to just once Anne Marie dropped, which surprised everybody,
I was gonna
me
say
and
that
Vin
was
for
one of
sure,
the turning points, right?
but it definitely surprised my wife and my family. They were like, I can't believe Anne Marie dropped and he's still going. And she was like, I guess I'm going there now. I almost texted her and said, like, don't bother. I can't run another step. By the time you get here, I'm going to be done. But then I thought, I mean, I'm probably going to need help packing. So that's
Yeah.
good. But
Yeah.
she got there and got like 3 or 4 more laps out of me, which was nice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll save the ending for later. But she ended up running an ultra marathon herself over the 2 days. Like she ran 28 miles with me in total, while getting
A
me.
champ.
Yeah, while getting me the lifesaver was probably the 7-Eleven Coca-Cola Slurpee. I don't think I had a Slurpee in like 20
Oh,
years, but it
yes.
was when it was boiling, like on Sunday it was hotter than Saturday. I don't know
Mhm.
what the real feel was in like the upper 90s or something. Or at least that's what my brain was saying. But it was really hot.
Yeah.
So that Slurpee, I think I got through 2 of them. Probably got at least an
Wow.
extra 8 miles out of me. It was a
Yeah,
lifesaver.
I mean, that sounds like a lifesaver. All the sugar and the Coca-Cola and all
So
the
perfect.
things.
And it was her idea
So,
too. She saw 7-Eleven. She was like, "Do you want a Slurpee?" And I think my eyes like just lit up, even though I couldn't
yeah.
really like say anything. Like, I probably didn't sound as excited as I looked, um, but I was very excited to get it.
Crazy. How did you do with the course change? What was your take on that?
I thought it was hilarious. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe they didn't have to cancel the race like 10 times. I was mostly impressed that they just found a way to keep it going. Between like the first loop into Central Park was nice. I mean, it was nice. It was running through the middle of Times Square, dodging
Mhm.
gorillas, and the
Yeah.
naked cowboy. But yeah, so that was entertaining. Running through the World Cup parties. I think Vin and Tim both told the stories about how like the police shut down the road, and we got
Mhm.
back to our turn in, and the police wouldn't let us in, and there was like 10 of us there saying like, but we're in the middle of a race and it's kind of timed, so maybe we can get by. Um, but eventually, I think it was Vic who uh, who the one of the people who put the race together came out and like talked to the police and let us in. And it turns out we couldn't go back out. And then, as I've talked about in other podcasts, we just ended up doing laps on 40th Street,
It's
which
crazy.
I guessed that was going to be the answer, because Austin and Vic, they weren't sure what they were going to do with the race at that point. They had like plan A's and plan B's and plan F's. They
Yeah.
probably didn't imagine the street was going to get shut down on both sides because of riots and gunshots and bus fires and all that fun
Mhm.
stuff. But they
Go
asked like,
Knicks.
I was like, we're just going to run laps, aren't we? And Austin gave me a very funny look as he was going up to announce everybody like, running back and forth on 40th till you get to 4.17 or whatever it is.
Oh my
And
god.
some people thought it was crazy inside, but everybody took it pretty well. It's We knew we were going into, like, the email said like, expect chaos. I
Yeah.
didn't expect that much chaos, but every twist and turn like that. And then they had to cut that in half because of riots. So we're just doing like little 0.2 laps back and forth. It got so ridiculous that I found it highly entertaining. It probably gave me a little bit of energy back
I was
because
gonna
I
say.
enjoy ridiculous things, and that was
Mhm.
the height of ridiculousness. Running an ultra marathon back and forth in a street with people coming out of bars, literally just sprinting down the road, yelling and screaming and cheering for the Knicks, um, just like joining the race, cheering us on, having no idea what was happening, but
Right.
all very drunkenly supportive, and I appreciated that. So yeah, I enjoyed the course changes, except when it went back out to the West Side Highway. I like that too because it was where I'm familiar running. It's right behind me,
Mhm.
the turnaround point. I could see the red what's the circular life saving thing? The buoy you throw into the water.
Oh man, I
What's the ring
literally
called?
just what is that called? I always
Oh,
thought it was just like a lifesaver, but I could be
yeah, we're
wrong.
gonna call it a lifesaver.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's right over there, and it still has the $1 Ultra stickers on it. So that
Oh,
was
that's
fine until it got hot
sick.
again. So when we're doing laps, it was super cool. It was like it wasn't really a course change, but the heat just added
Hmm.
such another element to the race that, and I'm pretty good in the heat, but I guess even that has limits. But yeah, the
Hmm.
course changes themselves, I thought they were. I was mostly impressed that Austin and Vic kept the race going through all of that turmoil. Impressed and entertained. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. That's what all three of you guys have said so far. So shout out to Austin and Vic, as I said on
Amazing.
the other two. No, that's crazy. So I'm fast forward. It's like nearing the end. It's sort of like the next day. What are you feeling like at that point? Was it was you, Vin, and Anne Marie, right?
Well, it was me, Vin, Emery, and Matt was in it. Like Matt and Anne
Oh,
Marie.
Matt.
Matt
Right, right,
dropped
right, right.
before Anne Marie, so
Hmm.
but and Anne Marie went like a little farther into it. I was fully sure Anne Marie just looked like a machine out there. Like Vin did too. He was
Hmm.
clockwork. He was coming in like 48 to 50 minutes every single time. He was pacing every single lap. I heard Tim and Vin talk about like how you should pace these things. And you have to be really well thought out in the beginning and not run too fast. I zero experience going to these things. So every time I would come back and like, all right, I'm gonna run a 45-minute lap. I'm gonna slow down. And I thought I was doing it. I was just running easy, like 35 minutes. Did it again. And every time there was a preem, I
That
was
would be
like,
me.
I know. And every time there was a preem, I was like, I shouldn't run fast to get a preem. Um, but it would probably be fun to run fast. So I did like a 28-minute lap and got like, but I won every single preem. So I was that idiot. Like Vin specifically talked about how like
That's crazy.
you get nothing by winning laps early on. Like you get like, bathhouse tickets for a day.
Yeah,
So
you get. Yeah, I mean, you do
I got
get
a
things.
towel.
You get
Um,
nice gifts,
yeah,
merch.
I was not pacing it. I was out there. I ran all the laps way too fast in the beginning. I was like, I raced for a couple preems. I was running too hard. That's probably why I felt like absolute garbage a mile 40. Um, but I'm stubborn, so I just kept doing it over and over again. Eventually, I got to those 45-minute laps by force, probably
Hmm.
close to like 24 hours in. But the next day, it's I guess when it started to come towards the end, when I thought it was towards the end, was probably like once I thought I was absolute toast. I forget how far Anne Marie actually ended up going, but if if Vin and I were like 5 or 6 laps one on one, that's 20 miles. So I guess Anne Marie was like 110 miles or something like that. I thought I
Wow.
was completely fried at like 110 miles. I wasn't going to stop. My brain wasn't going to stop, but I thought my legs were going to like hold me up at some point because there was like hints of a cramp every now and then, but it
Hmm.
never really happened. I just felt like maybe it's going to like my quad's going to lock up or something. But like I would say, luckily, the pain just radiated through my body. Like it was really bad in one place, but then 3 laps later, it would
Can't
like
imagine.
it was in a different spot. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. So from mile like 60 to 110, I felt really really bad the whole time, but never worse. I just felt really bad. So it was
Yeah.
consistently bad. I was like, I guess I can keep running in this awful state of terribleness forever. Why not? So I just kept doing it. But I thought I was pretty fried. But then when Anne Marie dropped out, I was like, I guess I have to try to keep going. That's the first time there was even a hint from the day before when I walked in thinking maybe I could win until I saw the competition. It was the first time there was a hint of maybe Vin isn't as good as he actually looks, and he's not a robot that can run a million miles like I'm pretty sure he is. So I just every time I saw him, I would like try to look a little better than I was. It turns out he saw through me because I listened to what he said. I heard him. I heard what he said. He's very observant. He
He
picked up on all the
is.
little cues. I will say there's one he missed. One that he would have known my time was numbered. But he was good at picking up on the cues. He saw when I was like in and out and struggling a bit. And he did say he thought I was running every lap. I was not. I was either running or hunched over in pain, thinking like I can't possibly walk another step.
Yeah.
There were many times when I thought I just couldn't walk another step. And then I would just look up and start running, because either if I couldn't walk another stack, I would probably run. And if I couldn't, I would just fall over. And I didn't fall over, so I just kept running.
Kept going.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, that started like a mile 110, where I thought I was completely
Wow.
done. And then my wife said she was going to end up come meet me there. I was like, I got to keep running until she gets here, which she got there pretty fast. She got there within one lap,
Oh,
which was
wow.
good, because if not, I'm not sure I would have gotten to the next lap. So she probably got there when I was like at a mile, I don't know, maybe 120 at that point, is when she finally
Wow.
made it. And I think I did like 133 total. Yeah, so she was there for like 12 more miles. And every time I went out, I told her the same thing for like 3 laps in a row. I said, I'm positive that I'm not going to be able to finish this lap, but I'm going to start it. I'm going to see what happens. Maybe if I start it, Vin will get discouraged and not be able to run very well. And then every time he would just like take off, I'm like, well, that's out. But I would just start the lap,
Yeah.
knowing completely that this is when my body's going to shut down. And then I would just keep running. And that happened for like 4 laps in a row, where I was sure that every step was so painful at that point, because I run 20 miles a week, that I was pretty sure my body was just going to say no. And then the very last lap, when I told Nikki, and this is where Vin mentioned, like, I was having like this chat with my wife that I looked a little emotional, and I'm not an emotional runner, but he's right. He nailed it. I said to her, he said that's when he noticed me having an emotional chat with my wife. And to recap that podcast for anybody that doesn't remember, and he said like he didn't want to read into it. He said like maybe it was my son's birthday, which actually was the week after that. So that was a good guess by him. But it was not about
That's
that.
crazy.
I was not thinking that far in the future. It was mostly me telling her like, I'm not sure I could stand up from this chair right now. But I said I'm never going to die in the chair. That was my one rule. Don't die in the chair. Don't decide to stop. So I was going to decide to get up. And then I start running, and there's this guy next to me. I'm like, who's running with me? So this is how fried my brain was when I actually got like towards the last lap. I was done. I told my wife that I'm not even sure I'm going to get up from this chair, let alone finish another lap. There's no way I can finish another lap. But in my last like desperate hope of maybe trying to win this race, which I'll tell you in a second why I actually knew that wasn't going to happen anymore. I thought if I just start this and I look really confident, maybe Vin is just putting on a great game face, and he's not a machine, and he's not going to run 500 more miles if he has to. But I got out there and started running. He ran away immediately, looked like he just started running. He looked like the day before, like clockwork. So I basically say to Nikki that I don't think I could run another step. This is when it's all going to go. This is when it's all going to go wrong in my legs. And I look next to me, and there's this guy running next to me, Christian, who I couldn't recognize him. I couldn't place him. And this is like, I was so fried the day before. I'm so bad with directions that the first 16 miles, like running through Central Park, I was mostly completely afraid of getting lost, taking a wrong turn, and just like not finding the course.
Being out.
Yeah. But I found this guy to run with, and he was amazing. And he had to bail out early because he had his daughter's swim lesson. So he was just running the first 16 miles. So I ran the first 3 laps with him, and we just talked about everything. We talked the entire time. Like we're friends now. And the last lap, I said like, all right, don't tell me where to turn. I'm going to try to get it right. But only correct me if I make a wrong turn. And I think I made one wrong turn, but it was an easy one. So yeah, and he told me like, if I'm still going tomorrow, he's going to try to come back. And it was just a passing line. But I was like at 128, 29 miles in. There he is running next to me. And it took me like 30 seconds to even recognize him. But when he was there, I was like, well, like, why are you here now? I'm like, I think I said to him, like, I am so sorry to disappoint you coming here to run with me, but I am done. And it took me so long to get that line out because I was just like, I was in a bad spot. That it took me like a half mile to say that. So by the time I realized he was running with us, said that whole line, I was like we were already at the West Side Highway. I was like, oh, I guess I might as well just try to run a lap then. So between him and my wife, I easily ran 16 more miles than I would have otherwise. Because I just would have been complete toast. And then it was my wife and Eitan, my other buddy, dragging me back after I passed out, but almost passed out. But yeah, it was the end. I thought the end was coming a lot sooner than it did. But my rule of not dying in the chair and having really good support crew at the very end there drug at least another 16 miles out of me. My wife
Wow.
kept telling me, even though like she kept reminding me how stupid and stubborn I was, and that there's no way I'd be happy with myself if I didn't basically collapse on the course. She never said that because she knows, I would push
That you
myself in
will.
that dangerous spot. I
Yeah.
would. Um,
Yeah.
but every time I told her I couldn't possibly do another lap, she said, you could do one more lap. In the perfectly not making fun of me way, but the perfect level of like degrading my thought process, like making fun of me just a little bit. And it got me out of the chair perfectly. Yeah.
Wow. So 133 miles.
Yep.
How many hours was that?
I made it 100 or 32 laps, so that was 32 hours. And
Wow.
I everything hit the wall mentally and physically on that 33rd lap. I tried to go
Unbelievable.
again. Even I think I was at like a 15-minute pace, which is not going to get it done, just limping down. But I thought if I walked really fast, I had been pretty short for laps, like I said, that I was done. But I kept surprising myself. So I tried to surprise myself one more time. And it was crossing the street like a quarter of a mile away from, after 15 minutes, I probably made it a quarter of a mile, which
Yeah.
was how delusional I was about, like, maybe a miracle will happen and I'll just start running again. But I was hunched over again in pain, like I had been at least 5 times per lap for the past 5 laps, thinking I couldn't possibly walk another step. This one felt a little more real, but I was deluding myself like I tend to do. And I stood up and I tried to run across the street, but as I was running, I think I said something like, I, like there it goes. I I I had gotten heat stroke before. I have a good
Yeah.
amount of experience with heat stroke, and I knew for like 2 laps in a row, maybe 3, I wasn't sweating anymore. My vision was getting a little blurry here and there. I was getting a little slower with decision making. I was still more lucid than I thought I'd be, but the signs of heat stroke were very clear, and everybody, like I think Austin and Vic had seen them very clearly too. After the race, they said like they thought I was done much earlier than I was. But yeah, I tried to stand up and just vision went to blackness for a second, and the next thing I knew, like my wife was holding me up like as I was entering an intersection. So yeah, that was, even then, even looking back now, I'm like, okay, so I passed out in an intersection, but what if I just kept running then? So I'm never really I'm still not satisfied
I
with the ending.
know. I
Falling back
know.
before, I'm like, I know my body was done. I know I was already 20 minutes in, and I made it a quarter of a mile at that point, and had to limp back to the race. But yeah, I mean, clearly I did a terrible job in the race. I didn't pace the beginning well. I didn't
No.
train well. That said, even if I did everything perfectly and got like 3 more laps, I think Vin would have gone to like 250 miles. So I was never going to win.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the reason I knew that, I said earlier, when my wife got there, she knows that I just like information. I like all the data I can get. That's a triathlete in me. So when she got there, I had known that Vin did a lot of good, cool races. He was like, he'd done the run. Like, I knew he was an ultra runner. I knew he was legit. But the first thing we talked about when we started running, we started talking about like how I was like, I can't believe Anne Marie is out. I know how good she was. And then she's like, do you know this Vin guy? Like, he's run like 200-mile races. I was like, shit. That's a problem because that's why he looks so good 110, 20 miles into this, and I'm falling to little pieces with my little marathon wins. So yeah, I had a feeling he was going to be able to go absolutely forever. And like he said, you never know what's going on inside someone. Like their stomach could go, they could just have like anything could go wrong at a race of that length. But the more experienced you are at that length, the more you're good at preventing things from going wrong. And nothing went wrong for me. I just reached my actual physical limit, which was very fun to do. That was my main goal, was to see what the absolute limit of my body was at like at that particular time. Because you don't get that in a marathon. You don't get that in Ironman. You're racing. You're going as fast as you can. So you never get to find that absolute limit. I just knew that he was probably more prepared than I was for things to go wrong. And he did have a lot of stuff go wrong. He had like stomach issues at certain points, and he had like mental lows, but he knows how to get through.
He just figured it out.
He did,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
knows how to get through them, and he did a great job doing it. And yeah, I really think he could have gone another 50 miles if he had to. So
Yeah.
I
A
knew,
hundred
and I knew
percent.
that for a while. I knew I wasn't going to beat him, but I knew that wasn't going to make me stop running. Like at a certain point,
Right.
I was just
Yeah.
there to, I guess, going against everything I said earlier about like, I'm there to win and compete. At that point, I was there to make sure I died on the course, like get the
Mm-hmm.
absolute limit
Find your
from
limit.
myself so I could
Mm-hmm.
wake up and feel good about it whenever I found a
Yeah.
way to sleep after that.
Yeah. How was your recovery? And also, an important thing to note before we go into your recovery and your hopefully you celebrated a little bit because 133 miles is nothing to sneeze at. I don't know how much celebrating you could do at that point
I,
without feeling like you're dying. But one of my favorite things about talking to you and Vin and Tim, of course, but you and Vin specifically because you were the last two standing, is this mutual respect for each other. And I know you listened to Vin's episode, but he
he's so
literally
good. He's
repeatedly
so
said
good.
he was like, I was looking at Tom and he looked so good. I was looking at Anne Marie, she was looking so good. Like you all are saying the same things about each other. And it's so cool to hear from my perspective because I'm like, this mutual respect is what it's about in the end,
Uh,
which is super cool. I don't know.
It
It's
turns
just cool
out,
to hear.
oh, I mean, it turns out Anne Marie, and I love this so much. She posted later, and I thought maybe she was doing it, but she she made a post at how she just sprinted by us one time
Mhm.
towards the tail end, like the lap before she was out, I think, and she just looked like she breezed by like it was nothing. And she did tell us later that was all for show. She was just trying to break us mentally. That
That's amazing.
like little did she know, I was
I
already
love that.
completely broken. She couldn't break.
Yeah.
You can't break something that's already completely broken mentally.
Yeah.
Like there, I wasn't going to stop. So I
That's
she
hilarious.
accomplished the goal completely of me thinking she was going to just outrun me by like another 10 hours if she wanted to. If her goal was to make me quit, I think she realized eventually I wasn't going to quit.
Hmm.
But she did absolutely have the best game face I've ever seen of anyone there. Because then I heard later, if like from Austin Vic, she would come back like writhing in pain and but she was beating us all back every lap. So she'd be in there, she'd be in pain for like 30 seconds. We'd walk in and she'd start like chatting like she was just at a coffee shop. So her game face and her mental game is as good as anyone I've ever seen, which is awesome. And you know
That's
what
so
the sad
crazy.
part is? I mean, I assume Vin's game face and mental game is as good as everybody, but he's the only person in the race that never had to reach that limit. So he actually did feel
Fair.
that good the whole
That's
time.
so fair.
So like I would say, um, like as far as picking up on cues, I thought like or like at 100 miles he was making like I heard him making plans with his crew like here's what's going to happen like at like noon today and like I'm like what are you talking about? You're thinking like 6 hours, like you're making
That's
plans
so
for
funny.
like 8 hours and 10 hours away. And I thought maybe he knew I was listening and maybe he was just like saying stuff to like play some games, but no, turns out he was legitimately prepared to keep going that long. And I realized that eventually.
It's
So his
unreal.
yeah, I never had to test the limits of his mental game. I wish maybe one day I can, but that day was not the $1 ultra. But yeah, they were both absolute monsters. There was a lot of people that were monsters, like the guy Matt who came in fourth.
Hmm.
He said it was his last lap. I feel like he started saying that at mile 75 or something, and he made it like a mile 110 or something. It
Yeah.
was his last lap every single lap for so long, and it was hilarious. It was a running
Listen,
joke
if it
eventually.
works,
Yeah, and it
yeah,
just kept working. But he was, and I'm pretty sure he was dead serious, but he just kept getting up and running again. So yeah, it was.
that's
There were
so
some
funny.
monsters of that race, and yeah, I just it was fun racing amongst them for as long as I did.
It's so cool. Would you do it again?
I would
Try to
do it.
win?
I would definitely. What I want to do is an actual backyard ultra. I guess I remember that this started with recovery. I'll get into the recovery, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's like an actual backyard ultra. You show up and you set up camp. You have this whole tent area. You have like a living room. You turn
Hmm.
your brain off and you run through the woods and it's soft pavement. Um, I'm now curious how far I could go in that environment. Again, also knowing how to pace better. I'm not going to run a 28-minute lap at
Yeah,
mile 30.
that's insane.
Yeah, but yeah, I kind of again completely unearned confidence, but I think I could
Hmm.
probably go pretty far in a backyard ultra that is
You
built
definitely could.
built for distance. and has
Mm-hmm.
that like Zen mindset, and you could just turn off your brain, which you can never do running through Times Square in Central Park in the middle of the night or back
Yep.
and forth on 40th Avenue. And even camp was the most crazy like you camp for a while was walking into the most crowded bar I've ever seen of people screaming. Like, this is not the Zen state that most ultra runners are
Mm-hmm.
used to, which I guess is good for me because I'm not an ultra runner, so it didn't really phase me much.
Soon to be.
Yeah, maybe one of these years, one of these years. But yeah, I would absolutely do it again. But I think
Yeah.
I'd want to do a real. I'll probably do whatever Austin and Vic come up with. But I want to
Yeah.
do a real one just to see how far I could actually go. Even though
Yeah,
like
that'd be
I'm,
cool.
I still race for speed. Like I want to do a 100-mile race. Like when I think of ultras, I want to do a 100-mile race and go as fast as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
This the slow running, like maybe one of the reasons I recovered okay, but I didn't do any of the training I was like. You should do specific training for these things, which I did not
Yeah,
do.
but imagine if you trained for it specifically, what you would be capable of doing. That'd be
It's
you'd be unstoppable. You'd be running 250 with
it'd be
Vin.
it'd be fun. I'll think maybe next year. But I can't wrap my mind around running ultra paces and training. I think I would
Mm-hmm.
hate training, so I probably will
I
never do
know.
like. But I
It's
also don't think
tough.
it's as necessary as people think it is. Like I my Z2 pace when I'm training for a marathon, it's like somewhere between like 6:45 and like low sevens. And I run like most of my slowest runs are right like 6:59. I mean, and it's going to run a 20 miler like 6:45 to 6:59. It
Yeah.
feels fine. It's easy, and I like going slow. Just the idea just bores me, and it builds up the durability. I know that like you have a much more inefficient stride if you don't practice that slow pace, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It worked. Maybe hitting the wall in a couple marathons in my life helped me like work on my efficiency at slow paces. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like durability is durability, and I train for durability. In my long runs, like I said, I don't do any easy runs, so I'll do a 15, 20 mile, and my hardest parts of that run are going to be
Mm-hmm.
the last 5 miles of it. And if I'm doing a long bike ride, I'm going to start off easier and then it's going to build. And the hardest part of the ride, the highest wattage, is going to be towards the end of the ride. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a runner's mindset too. It's training for speed, but also training for durability when you have to go really long in races. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about the fastest foot speed, which I try to work on, but it's about maintaining the highest percentage of your threshold as possible for a marathon 2.5 hours, for an Ironman 8.5 hours. Like
Mm-hmm.
how close to the limit can you stay and not break? So
Yeah.
durability is like it's the new trendy word in long distance racing, but I think it's one of the trends I like. I like durability
Yeah.
training because I've
Yeah.
accidentally been doing it for a long time.
I love that.
Which I guess
And
I could answer the recovery question after
I
that.
was gonna say, I was gonna
Yeah.
say,
So
you've trained for it, but what's the recovery like?
both better than I thought and worse. The day after my last 100 miler, which was way more undertrained for, like I couldn't walk for like 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, even after like the day of this one, of course I go home and I hadn't slept in however many hours, 32 hours. And even the night before the race, I did
It's
such I
crazy.
slept for like 3 hours before the race because we were actually on vacation the week before, which is how well prepared I was for this race. Like after the triathlon, we stayed in Cape May. We just went to the
Mm-hmm.
beach and went on hikes and went on like to amusement parks and did a little running. But we got back from the vacation like that Friday night. And then
Oh
Saturday
my
morning
God.
was the race. It just rolled right into the race, completely
At
prepared.
like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
Of course.
I nailed it. So I got like my 3 hours of sleep and rolled right into it. But the day Sunday, I just get right back into like having a family life. So I went back and tried to like eat dinner with my family and hang out and have a little fun. I did try to close my eyes for like an hour and get some sleep. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really sleep till that night again, but I was walking around relatively okay, which was very different than my last 100-mile experience. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe that meant I was going to be recovered enough to like actually start running again soon. And I kept thinking it was going to be like, because I felt really good the next day compared to what I thought I was going to feel like, which
Mm-hmm.
was not being able to walk. But that doesn't mean I felt good enough to do like running and speed work. So I'm watching like Vin and Anne Marie on their Instagram, like, I went on a 7 mile run 3 days later. I'm like, what the is wrong with you people?
I would die.
Yeah.
I would
Like I,
die.
I was like doing really easy bike rides and some swims. The first really hard run I did like 4x1 mile repeats was like yesterday, like 20
Yeah.
days after the race. Cause
Hmm.
I'm doing a triathlon in a week. It turns out I just remembered during this chat. So I needed to get some speed work in. But my resting heart rate took, I think, like 10 days to get anywhere close to back to normal, which is a
Hmm.
pretty good signal for me. And like, I track everything, like my heart rate variability overnight. It's still a little suppressed. I like live in the 90s and hundreds usually with overnight HRV, and it's still like only like 80,
Hmm.
but which is a sign that it's not perfect yet. But I have another week. But that's
Yeah.
plenty. That's good enough to train really hard. It means I'm absorbing the workouts at least mostly. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just getting back to it now, running fast and running hard. And they've been doing it for like a week, 2 weeks already, which maybe when I'm an ultra runner, I'll recover faster, or maybe it's because I'm 42, and like all the. But no, I'm not gonna. I don't look at it that way. That's
No, you can't. You can't.
no,
It's just
gonna
because you ran 133 miles in
completely
like
why I'm
32
not getting
hours.
old yet. I refuse to acknowledge that possibility.
You're not going out that way.
Nope.
That's the bottom line. You got a lot more to do. I love
Oh
it.
yeah.
I love it. Well, speaking of, and before we wrap up here, because I need to get your hot take, of course, and I need to get a song for the playlist. But last
Okay.
question: what, other than the triathlon in a week, do you have coming up?
Mostly Ironman, California, which is
Hmm.
October. Chosen for anybody who knows that race because the downriver swim, which takes a big chunk out of my weakness, which is the best. Yeah, so I don't really have anything planned beyond. I'm going to run the New York City Marathon, but it's
Me
pretty
too.
close. I was I was
Fun.
kind of run it as a fun run, which is silly to say, but it's close to an Ironman. It's the end of a season. It's also the slowest. It's not a PR course. None of the New York courses are
No,
PR courses. It's like so. It's I think it's harder than Boston. My wife disagrees, but I think it's a much
I
harder
think
course given the
Boston
hill
sucks.
profile. It's Boston sucks because I've had good weather once in my life in Boston,
Yeah.
but if it
Hmm.
was a really temperate like tailwind day, you could potentially run fast there. But New York, it's just
Yeah.
the hills come at the worst times. Like
I know.
the last hill by Central Park before you go in is just like torture.
Okay,
It's not
that's
favorable.
evil.
It's
That
the
one's
worst
evil.
time to do that. It's just so mean.
I
So a few
do low
years.
key like it though.
I mean,
Sorry,
I
go
love
ahead.
it. It's a very entertaining. I love the weekend. I love the course, but
Yeah.
I don't love it. I would never try to do it as a PR. Like that's why I did Jim Thorpe.
Yeah, no.
It's like
Yeah.
dead, even though it's like a rail trail in Jim Thorpe, it's like dead flat, even a little like tiny downhill grade.
Hmm.
New York's not a PR course. It's just a course we
No.
run because we love the race itself and the weekend, and it's
Hmm.
fun. The best time I
Totally.
ran in New York was a few years ago. I did it as a fun run with my wife. We didn't tell anybody at the time, but she was, I guess it was like 4.5 years ago now, maybe. But she was pregnant. We hadn't told anybody yet. And she
Oh.
wanted to run it and use it as a Boston qualifier because it was still early enough. And she did. She just jogged to an easy BQ while pregnant because she can do
No,
those things.
casual. Yeah.
But I was running,
Cool.
she did like a 3:20 something or like 3:30, like rate,
Wow.
like, which, which
It's
was
unreal.
her, I can't let my heart rate get elevated time. She's
Hmm.
usually like in the three teens somewhere, but I wanted to run it with her. So I just like did the fun run, and my goal was to drink a beer in every barrow, which I accomplished. And it was a very fun time. So
That's
maybe
so good.
I might do that again this year. I'm trying to find ways to have fun with it, even though I'm going to be toast from an Ironman. So I gotta find another plan of attack this year to enjoy it, even though I'm not going to run fast, which kind of tortures me most of the time.
Yeah. I'm also fun running it this year. I'm not racing it because I'm doing a 50 miler the week before. So
Let's do it. Beer in every barrel.
we can beers and burrows.
Yep.
I'm down to do this with you. Let's do
Deal.
it. That'd be so fun.
Maybe we can get a
I love
crew.
it.
Maybe so. There's a couple
Yes.
barrows that are real tough to find beers in because they're really small and they're not very crowded. So
Yeah.
maybe we should pre-plan and have somebody waiting with beers.
Yeah.
That was
My crew
the
would
hardest part
definitely
last
love
time.
to supply beers
All
for
right,
us.
now we have a plan.
I think that would be their dream. It's to see me drink a beer during a run. So
Yeah,
we'll have to do it. That's gonna be so fun.
I'm
I'm
in.
I'm so down. Okay, well, lastly, last two questions on the pod. Not that I want this conversation to end because we're having so much fun. Do you have any running hot takes you want to share?
Oh man, I do. What's my hottest take? Um, yeah. this one always upsets people so much. You
I
know the
love it.
whole run slow to run fast trend, with
Yes.
more of the Z2 stuff. I'm happy to say the science is finally catching up with my unsupported mindset, but I have told people for quite a while, if all you do is run slow and you practice running slowly with most of your running, then you're going to get really good at running slowly. So run slow to run a little faster than slow. And
Mm-hmm.
people think it works sometimes because they do a lot of Z2 running, and then in a race they can run a little faster. Like, obviously you can, because you're not running fast. That doesn't mean you couldn't have run faster if you actually trained properly. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with Z2 besides how boring it is. But the thing that people always get wrong with this 80-20 thing, which, I'm going to get two hot takes, but one is the run fast to
As
run
many as
slow to
you
run
want.
fast just doesn't, it's not real. You run slow to practice running slowly. And the reason people mess that up is because you're supposed to mix in really hard running. If you're going to run slowly a lot, every now and then you have to run really, really hard. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody I'll transition to this into why 80-20 isn't for everybody. But everybody misses the 20% part of that, and they think they're running hard for 20%. But most people and this is why I think I've separated myself from a lot of the amateur field without having more hours. Like, I train like an age grouper. I have the hours of an age grouper, but I was
Mm-hmm.
winning age group races, and I was pretty well separated a lot of the times. There's a lot of age groupers that are as fast as me, that could be pros. They just decided not to get their doors blown off by pros. I decided to do that. But the reason I'm in that conversation is because it's the 20% people get wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That 20%, if you're doing 80-20, has to be so hard that you think it's impossible. You can't sleep the night before because you're like, this is going to kill me, and you want to throw up at the end of it. Most
Mm-hmm.
people don't do the Z5, Z6 work you need to make 80-20 work properly. They're
Mm-hmm.
really good at the 80 part because you're just
Easy.
running slowly, and
Yeah.
everybody's very attracted to the idea of this run slow to run fast because it's easy. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's easy, it probably doesn't work. That's like the life lesson. They're like,
Yeah.
if you have an easy way to get fast, you're not actually getting fast.
Yeah.
So
There's
if
no easy
anybody,
way out in this
there's
sport.
just you can't cheat it. It has to be
Yeah.
hard. If you're not
Yeah.
training hard, you're not going to get faster. And I
Mm-hmm.
like the hard part. I like the track workouts. I like the threshold
Me
workouts on the
too.
bike. They're torture, and in the moment, I feel like my brain's going to explode. But
Mm-hmm.
I I don't know. I that's the part of the sport that I like,
I
which
know.
is the
I'm
transition
with
into
you.
the other part of it, how 80-20 has taken over the world as far as like triathlon training and running. Is like, it's it's it came from professional athletes, high-end athletes that
Mm-hmm.
trained 100 miles, 120 miles a week, or triathletes who are training 30 hours a week. Yeah, of course they have to do 80% of their training easy, because that's the only way you can get 40 hours a week of training in, or 30
Right.
hours a week or 100 miles a week in. But if you're running like 20 miles a week, which you can get pretty fast, you can get good results out of that. But at that point, like, your life is the 80. There's plenty of recovery time if you're running 20 miles a week. You can
Mm-hmm.
run more than 20% of your workouts really hard and recover in time. So 80-20 is not for everybody. I'm glad that wasn't a thing when I started, because when I first started running, I was probably 80-20 in the other direction. Like, the goal of 80-20, like the heart of it is be recovered enough for your next hard workout. And
Mm-hmm.
some people are naturally really good at recovering. And if you are, and you could run 40% of your workouts really hard, you will benefit from it. And if you find
Yeah.
yourself running 40, 60 and you're recovering for the next workout, then keep doing it. And, don't get injured. Again, I give terrible advice. Don't go get yourself injured. But if you train durability and you do cross training, like you do like strength workouts, you can probably, and you're not running super high mileage, you can probably do more than 20% of your workouts hard. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my other hot
Yeah.
take. All those trends about
Great
how
hot
getting fast can
takes.
be easy, they're all wrong. Getting fast is hard.
Getting fast is hard. And I will say, to bounce off that, I think there's this, I don't know where it came from, but like no quality miles in a long run. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not running your long run at if not your race pace, very close to your race pace. Like maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That works for me. Again, I don't give great advice,
I do it
but
too.
like
I've done 20 miles
sometimes people be
almost
like, why
at
you
race
run
pace
in sub
before.
eights? And I'm like, cause my marathon pace is like a 7:05, 7:10. So like, I, I don't know. I like it. I think that's where I find my most efficient stride is when I'm in that pace. And it's like, if why not have a trial run before the big dance?
Yeah.
I don't
And
know. I
if you
just think
can't do
your long run should be marathon pace or close
if
to.
if if you can't do 10 miles in the middle of a long run at marathon
Hmm.
pace, that should worry you. Marathon pace should feel
Yeah.
relatively easy up
Yeah.
until like the
If you're
last.
racing too, right? Like I
Yeah,
think people have different, obviously people
that
have
is
different
true.
goals,
If your
but
goal is
like
to
for
go as
somebody
fast as
who's
you possibly
racing,
can.
yeah.
And by the way,
Yeah.
running is for everybody, and not everybody has to be racing. I should make that caveat. It sounds like I'm all into racing.
Totally. No, 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 no,
I
no, no,
love
for
the
sure.
sport for all the other sports too. Like everybody who runs is a runner. It doesn't matter if you're 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours. I have more in common with a 5 hour marathon finisher than I do with somebody who doesn't run at all. We all
Hmm.
earn the same beer at the
Exactly.
end. But if your goal is to just race it as fast as you can and like you're like getting every ounce out of yourself in training, if you can't run
Hmm.
10 miles of a long run at marathon pace, then it should be you're probably in trouble. Marathon pace
Hmm.
should feel pretty easy up until mile 20 of the marathon even.
Hmm.
So 10 miles in the middle, it shouldn't be all that daunting. And I will still
Yeah.
say, even myself, like going into a run where I have like 10 miles of marathon pace, it is daunting. But
Oh, totally.
I almost always get through it. Not always, but almost always. So I'm with you
Sometimes I have
completely.
to
You got to have
stop. I'll
quality
be
miles.
humble,
Yeah.
especially now because it's hot as hell. But
But you got
like,
to have the quality miles in the
yeah,
long
you
run.
have
Like
to.
that's the
You
best
have
time to have
to.
quality miles. That's the
Yep.
durability training we were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, like the long, slow days. I don't think I've done one of them in, I don't know, a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I try to have a good balance. Like, I definitely at the beginning of training will go a little slower, and then I kind of find my groove. And when I find my
Yeah, of
groove, it's
course.
like, okay, this is what we're in, right? Like, and you just kind of get used to it. But yeah, I just think it's so important. It's so so important. I
Right
don't
there
know.
with you.
I feel like it adds confidence to the run, to the actual race too, right? Like to your point, I would be worried if I couldn't do it, and if my goal was to race, of course.
Yep.
Um,
And
yeah,
that you should be.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, Leslie, two more questions actually.
Keep it going.
One, do you have a song for the Ali G Show playlist? And two,
I do.
where can people follow along with you if they want to follow all the things you do in the running world and
Sure. All right.
biking world and triathlon and all the things you do?
Still
I can't
triathlete for
even name
now.
them
I'll be
all.
an ultra one of these years. So I'm
Yeah.
going to stick with my son's playlist for now. I think the best. I think "Wrecking Ball" by Miley Cyrus. It's on my running
Love
playlist,
it.
and he loves it. He knows every word. So yep, "Wrecking Ball" by Miley Cyrus. Great running
Love
song.
it. Love
Um,
it.
and he yells it as he's like running at me. He yells, "Came in like a wrecking ball," and I know trouble's coming.
That's right.
Because he knows what it means too. So that's always fun. And yeah, just at tgarvey4 on Instagram. It's where I do most of my posting. It's where I did all of the 32 stories during the $1 Ultra, which turns out people were actually watching. I had no idea if I was posting
Yeah.
anybody. It was mostly for myself, and I have all of them. Say it's looking through them and watching my slow slip into insanity is funny
Hmm.
now. I looked so bad in those last ones. But yeah, I
No,
stayed
are you kidding?
I put
I
them all in a
mean,
highlight reel. You can check them
yeah,
out all at
check them out.
tgarvey4 to watch me slip from overconfidence into slight insanity over the course of 32 hours.
No, they were so good. I very much enjoyed all of the content from the $1 Ultra, and I very
Glad to
much
hear it.
appreciate you sharing your story today. So thanks for coming on the pod. Come back anytime if you want to talk about more cool shit that you're doing.
All right. Hopefully,
That's what I say. You know,
maybe
I'll
we'll
leave you
talk
with that
about my
parting gift.
overconfidence going into an Ironman. Like why I train 15 hours a week, 10 hours a week. Why do you think you can go 8:30? We'll see. I don't know. It's how I
Well,
roll.
I can't wait to see how it goes.
All right.
It's
Thanks.
gonna be fun to watch. You're the best. Bye, Tom. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, everyone, that's a wrap on my conversation with Tom. I really, really loved this conversation and loved getting into the different sides of endurance sports with him. There's a lot that goes into racing at that level that you don't necessarily see from the outside. So I hope you enjoyed learning and getting a little bit more insight into the strategy and mindset and experience behind it all. So To Tom, thank you so much for hanging out with me on the Ali G Show. And to everyone listening, thank you as always for being here. If you enjoyed this track, make sure you follow or subscribe to the Ali G Show at @the_Ali G Show on Instagram. And if you have a second, leave a review, share the track with your friends. It really helps the show grow. And I will catch you all on the next track of the Ali G Show. Bye.